say Merry Christmas to everybody and welcome to be in the room. We've got members of the public out there as well. Before we start, we'll start with a word of prayer. All those who would like to bow their heads are more than welcome to. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for today. Thank you, Lord, for the sunshine outside. Thank you for the rain that we've had. Lord, look after us wherever we may be, whether we're at home or in the hospital or in travelling to work, wherever we may be doing. In precious name, Lord, look after us as we go through the discussions today. In your precious name, amen. Thank you, councillors. As we go through the meeting today, we have declarations of interest. Please make them known to us. We have no apologies. We do have Councillor Peters, who is resting and recovering in hospital, and she desperately wanted to be in by Teams, so you will see her there. Councillor Peters, I do hope that you're okay. You don't have to respond, though, you're all fine. Councillors, there is a supplementary report, item 4.1.1, which has also been attached. Members of the public, I remind you again, and councillors, this meeting is being live streamed. There is members of the public who are also recording of it. We do have our media in the room. And the staff have also turned on additional speakers to ensure that the sound is clear. If by any reason that you find that is not clear, we encourage you to seek help from one of the people with the blue lanyards out there. They will help with the noise and sound and things. And again, members of the public, I've said this before and I'll say this again. Due to us being in this room with the sound and the live streaming, we encourage, instead of doing clapping, to use the sign language approach, which is the waving of the hands like this, as so appreciation. Yep, okay. Councillors, I'm just going to, before we move on to item 4.1, we have the extraordinary business of item 4.1.1, fluoridation update, additional information. Subsequent to the agenda being circulated, item 4.1.1, fluoridation update, additional information was distributed separately but not within the timeframe specified in Lagoima. The report has been included to provide additional information to item 4.1, fluoride update. Council asked to consider this matter at today's meeting for further inform the discussion. Do I have a mover of that? Councillor Connop, seconder. Councillor McKenzie.
Just point of order before you put the motions. I'm not going to vote for this. I'm not supporting it. It's late information, but it's contrary to what we're trying to do as a council and other committees of council. So I will not be voting to include that at today's meeting. Thank you.
Understand that fully. Any other discussion on it? Councillor Benny?
Yeah, likewise.
Okay. No other discussions? Right. It has now been moved and seconded that the council consider the item additional information. The division has been called. All those in favour?
Councillor Jovich, Councillor Ruka, Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Harding, Councillor Cooper, and Councillor Connor.
And
Councillor Peters.
those against?
Councillor Reid, Councillor Olsen, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Golightly, Councillor Benny, and His Worship the Mayor.
Carried. It's been carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 4.1. Councillor Benny, you have the floor.
Yes, I do. Outside of the recommendation in the agenda, I wish to move the following. That the council, 1, notes the continuation of community water fluoridation direction from the Director General of Health, attachment 1, dated 3rd of December 2024. 2, notes the information provided with the Director General's continuation of community water fluoridation direction, including the full Bill of Rights assessment and new information review contained in attachments 2 to 7 of this agenda item, including the correspondence from New Health New Zealand dated 16th September 2024, which directly contradicts most of the assumptions made by the Ministry of Health. 3, notes the 6th of December 2024 letter from the Director General of Health in response to notification of the Council resolution dated 28th of November 2024. 4, instructs the Whangarei Mayor and Chief Executive to write to the Ministry of Health, the Minister of Health, and Northland Members of Parliament advising them of this resolution and requesting an extension of the Director-General's directive until the New Health New Zealand judicial review against the Director-General is finally decided. 5, that extension is sought on the grounds that there are serious conflicting views of the safety and effectiveness of community water fluoridation. 6, further notes that Whangarei has never fluoridated their water supply, and the last referendum in 2002 was clearly against fluoridation of our water supplies. 7, alongside that letter, if an extension is not granted by the Director-General, Council seek an urgent interim injunction staying the Director-General's directive until the New Health New Zealand judicial review against the Director-General is finally decided. 8, instruct legal counsel prior to filing the proceedings to seek agreement from the Governor-General to stay the directive without the need to file the injunction. 9, the injunction would be sought on the grounds that the potential harm from fluoridation makes it unlawful for the Council to implement it pursuant to Section 23 of the Health Act 1956, and that on the balance of convenience, the risk of harm far outweighs any minimal possible benefit to oral health. And 10, appoints Councillor Gavin Benny on a working party with the Whangarei Mayor and Chief Executive to select and brief a law firm in relation to the injunction.
And I will second that. Councillor Benny.
Before I speak to this, Your Worship, I just have some questions that we've this additional information. Item 4.1.1, if we could have some legal questions.
Yes, Councillor, due to where the public are, the staff are on the side there, so if you ask the question to me, I will then relay to the staff, and the staff are asked to respond.
Cool, more than happy. Okay, so the item 4.1.1, which we received this morning, last night by email, contains comments about the injunctive relief. I just want to query some of the questions regarding that. The comment in there that at every level the courts have upheld the right of local authorities to fluoridate water supplies, and more recently the powers of the Director-General of Health to give a direction to that effect. I'm asking our legal advisor, is she aware of the New Health New Zealand challenge? And I know she is because she's referred to it later on, and the ongoing court case with that.
Simon, you...
Yes, we're fully aware of that.
Okay, so when we say comprehensively and exhaustively considered, this doesn't take into account that there is still a court case, a substantive court case going next year.
The comment within the document stands that it has been considered widely, and yes, the point you're making, I understand fully what you're making.
Okay, my next question is, has any council in New Zealand applied for an injunction prior to this?
I don't believe so, no.
No. So when the comment here that Council's legal advisor has said that the chances of getting, in my professional opinion, the likelihood of an injunction succeeding is small, that is based on no historical cases. No council has ever applied for an injunction specifically in this on fluoridation.
It's based on the decisions that have been made to date and the direction of the courts to date around this particular issue.
But the fact that no council has ever applied for an injunction...
the question you're asking...
Yep, this is a question.
Yep.
This is a clear question. So I mean, we've got a legal advice in here that I am querying, and I think it's a very reasonable query. So we are the first in the country to seek an injunction. Yep. And despite Justice Radish's comments in June that interim orders should be sought by councils, our relief is that it's unlikely to occur.
So you're asking for clarification?
Yes, I am. Exactly.
In regards to that that comment that was made, that was in relation to if the Director-General was taking legal action against the council, then the council would have that means of remedy. However, that decision has since been made. So it's a different position now.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion
so-
before,
so-
and we disagree with that point, but.
Question?
So, the other one relates to costs. So in particular, the Governor-General staying the directive without need to file an injunction, the cost for that would be minimal. Do we accept that?
If it's purely a letter, but the supporting information that would need to be provided for that, that's where the cost would come in.
Cool. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Benny, you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Councillors, you stood to represent your community. You took an oath to make decisions in the best interests of the Whangarei region. You were elected by the ratepayers to be their voice. Your community, your people, have clearly given you the mandate to be their voice. There are no buts in your responsibilities. Now is the time to stand up. The people of Whangarei do not want their waters fluoridated. Some of you were concerned about the potential for fines. And while I disagree with your reasoning, this amendment takes away any liability, personally or for council. The residents of Whangarei have serious concerns about adding a neurotoxin, a poison, to their water supply. Who will look after the pregnant woman, the infants and babies that everyone agrees should not ingest fluoride? Let's get this straight. The product added to our water is not fluoride. It is hydrofluorosilicic acid, a toxic waste from the fertiliser industry. It contains fluoride. It also contains arsenic and lead, mercury, and Lord knows what else. I just want to divert for 1 minute. In 1996, New Zealand banned lead from paint and petrol. A review of that decision later stated, it took over 2 decades to achieve this, despite international evidence and research conducted in New Zealand on the harm to child cognitive function. Guess which government ministry, right to the very end, continued to affirm that lead was not harmful, despite countries worldwide banning lead? That's right, our Ministry of Health. The report concluded a number of reasons why New Zealand did not follow the rest of the world, but highlighted the poor use by the Ministry of Health of the evidence available. The report concluded, and I quote, "There is a need for stronger precautionary approach by policymakers when considering environmental pollutants. Politicians, officials, and health workers need to strengthen processes and counter industry tactics." End quote. On page 24 of your agenda, you will see that the Director-General has stated that there has been no high-quality evidence since the review in 2014. Seriously. The US National Toxicology Program was an 8-year review. It is one of the most significant reviews in the history of fluoridation throughout the world. To ignore that research, as this Bill of Rights analysis has done, is in my view a massive, deliberate ploy to deceive. The US Federal Court decision based on that evidence is so significant the USA is ceasing fluoridation because of the concerns to health. The Surgeon General of Florida, population 22 million, thinks it is so significant he calls fluoridation public health malpractice. Yet our Ministry of Health ignores that research and legal decision. This research and court decision are major game changers. We cannot ignore it. Alongside of this is reviews like the Cochrane Review, which the Director-General refers to, but seriously, the Cochrane Review questions the effectiveness and safety of community water fluoridation. Here we go again. The difference here, and this is a substantial difference, is that we are putting poison into our water supply and trying to justify that as an acceptable breach of people's basic rights. We are saying to the Director General of Health, let's pause and wait for the court case that New Health New Zealand is taking against the Ministry of Health, which will consider all evidence. Science is seriously conflicted, depending on who's paying. Legal advice is conflicted, depending on who's paying. Councillors are being threatened personally with huge fines and legal ramifications because we are trying to protect our people. It's actually unbelievable. I have been astounded by the number of people who have supported this stance and the quality of the submissions that have been made. Councillors, you cannot ignore the people who we represent.
Councillor Benny, I just need to, at this point here, remind you that we've only got 5 minutes each one because that's the new standing orders, so we just need to make sure that you need to wrap it up now.
No problems?
Yeah.
Dr. Safadi, contrary to some, we are not giving you the middle finger. We are saying, let's pause this until the court case is finished. Work with us. We all represent the same people, the ratepayers, the taxpayers. The Ministry of Health did not pay for the equipment. The taxpayer did. The same taxpayer will pay for the poison to be added to the total water supply, even though they don't want it. The same taxpayer will pay for any possible legal fees, fines, etc., not the Ministry of Health. Section 11 of the Bill of Rights Act, Section 23 of the Health Act, Taumata Arawai's drinking water standards puts an obligation on you councillors, on us councillors. They all put the onus on us to ensure the safety of our water. The only way we can do that is by pausing this directive and working together. I call on you, Dr. Safadi, listen to the people of Whangarei. Work with us.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate your motion there, and as many of the public have also signalled with that as well. Any other discussion? I have a few questions, if that's Councillor Conant, you want to speak?
Just a question first.
Yep.
Just regarding the motion that's on the table, is that an amendment to it, or is that an alternate motion?
This is the motion that is on the table.
Okay, thank you.
A few questions. Simon, do we know where one of the comments that's been come up there, it's saying about the fluoride, where is that coming from to be added to our water?
The chemical supplier that supplies chemicals currently to the Whangarei District Council and many other suppliers, they will be supplying it. I believe that they'll be supplying it from Mount Whangarei.
Do we know how it's created?
I believe it will be a co-product of other chemical works, and I understand it may well be supplied as a co-product via balance.
We're comfortable with that answer, or?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Are you aware of the US National Toxicology Report that was being produced that Councillor Benny's highlighted about?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to the costs for the council, can you say what the costs will be?
In relation to fluoridation?
Yep.
The assessment's in the report.
Yeah. For the public, can you...
So approximately $100,000 a year to be able to fluoridate.
And what are the costs to go, do you know what the costs will be to go through an injunction?
It's in the report.
For the public?
And so approximately $100,000 for the application, fees and court costs.
Can you speak into the microphone, sorry?
Approximately $100,000 for the application, legal fees and the court costs, and the costs of the other party if it's unsuccessful. potentially in the range of another 50 to 100k, depending on how many parties are involved.
In relation to the Health Act 1956, it clearly states in there that the Director General of Health has total power to override a council. Is that correct?
I understand that to be correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions, comments or discussions?
Just a question.
Yes, Councillor Hulse?
Could I ask the last comment by a CE about why was that not included in the agenda paper, the actual act we're covering and the statement he just made? Because it's that important, it should have been in our agenda.
The councillor is asking why the act was not included within the agenda.
It was referred to and didn't deem it to be necessary.
Okay. Councillor Hulse?
I don't find that an acceptable answer. Thank you.
Councillor, I realise that it's question time, or if that's your point of making. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions or comments at this point. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Worship. Question is, the CE mentioned balance. Is that referring to balance agri-nutrients?
That would be correct.
As there does not seem to be any more questions or comments, Councillor Connop.
I'd like to move an amendment, please, that we go with the original motion in the paper.
Amendment.
Yes.
And the amendment will be?
As I just stated, the original motion in the document that we have. Would you
Councillor,
like me to read it out?
Yes, please, Councillor.
Thank you. That the Council notes the continuation of community water fluoridation direction from the Director General of Health Attachment 1 dated 3rd of December 2024. 2. Notes the information provided with the Director General continuation of the community water fluoridation direction, including the full Bill of Rights assessment and new information review contained in attachments 2 to 7 of this agenda item. 3. Notes the 9 December 2024 letter from the Director General of Health in response to notification of the Council resolution dated 28th November, and for revokes point 1 of the resolution dated 28 November 2024 that states resolves not to add fluoride to the Whangarei District's water supply as required by the directive of the Ministry of Health.
Do you have a seconder for that? As there is no seconder, Councillor Holmes has seconded that. You can speak to that.
I'll reserve my right to speak at the moment. Can I? Or do I need to speak now?
It is appropriate to speak now, yes.
May I reserve my right to speak?
Any discussions, any comments? Chief Executive, I'll go to Councillor Hulse first.
Your Worship, that amendment opens up a few questions for me. Now, I couldn't answer the question before because we didn't have an amendment on the table. So, one, are you asking us to follow our standing orders and our Local Government Act 2002 at this meeting? That we take an oath to follow?
That is a question to the Chief Executive.
Are you asking us to bend away from a Local Government Act and our standing orders in this occasion?
Not at all.
Councillor, I believe that when we take the oath, as you know, the oath states that we must abide by all acts of central government, including the Local Government Act.
Okay, so further question is, under the Local Government Act, it states quite clearly, in the oath we take, it's quite clear, and I'll read it out when I get into debate, but under the Local Government Act, it seems to be that we have now been asked to not go to the Local Government Act, but to allow the government mandate to crush us. Is that right?
The question that you're asking, if I can get this right, is there an order of acts that one overrides another?
Yeah.
We're expected to comply with the direction.
Well, Your Worship,
provided by the Director General of Health.
this is crucial to our debate, because this is our standing orders. So in the very first meeting of every new council, you've got to adopt the standing orders and follow the Local Government Act. In the Local Government Act, it says that we must employ a chief executive. That's in the Act. And two, as under clause 42.2.a, a chief executive appointed under subsection is responsible to her local authority for A, implementing the decision of a local authority, and B, providing advice to members of local authority. And it goes on to first, and under 42.3, under B, is capable of delivering adequate advice to local authorities to facilitate the explicit resolution of conflicting objectives. Now, under the new amendment, there is a direct conflict of the role of our country. Under the resolution to revoke point 1 is contrary to the role of our CE under those standing orders and Local Government Act. So I'd like that part removed from the recommendation.
Sorry, which part would you like to be removed from the recommendation? Sorry, Councillor, I'm just trying to understand that.
Point 4 of the recommendation, to revoke the decision made by council, because it goes on under the Local Government Act, and it's all here,
Yep.
it's all marked, that the Local Government Act has to follow the decision of the elected members of the council he works for.
Councillor, I think you've come up with the dilemma that we've highlighted previously, and that is actually that there are acts out there, and I will refer the councillors to the Health Act of 1956, which is the only act which actually gives a single person authority over all aspects of health. A person. So therefore, that person has the ability, in accordance to the Act, to actually direct any council. And as it states in 116E1, the Director General may direct a local authority to add or not to add fluoride to drinking water supplied through its local authority supply.
Your Worship, what I'm trying to point out, the Director of Health has now pitted the councillors against their own CEO and staff. Not our decision, the Director of Health, and surely that would have been a consideration that needed to be had before the directive was issued. Thank you. I'm just making it really clear that the Local Government Act is really explicit in a role of hiring a chief executive, and as you know, he gets funded by our ratepayers.
And you are absolutely right, Councillor, and our last amendment, last motion, which was on the 28th of November, which clearly stated for what we're to do. However, once again, as stated, the Local Government Health Act actually supersedes any decision that we make in council because it is a single person who gives directive. Councillor Cooper?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it is time for us to just confront the issue and get on with life. We, at the moment, are having a situation where we are trying to move the blame onto other people and abdicate responsibilities, in my opinion. I don't think that is fair on the staff. I don't think it is fair on the people who we are elected to serve. We must stand up and be accountable one way or the other. We're not all going to agree. I think that is quite clear. However, we have to make a decision, and it has to stop now, and we have to understand that that's our job. So I will be supporting the motion as put by Councillor Connor. Thank you.
Then Councillor Cooper. Councillor Rooker.
Thank you, Worship. I'm conflicted, conflicted in that there's major risks either way. Do I believe it's safe and effective? No, I don't. And for me, it's a symptom of a greater issue, I think, that we have as a country, which to me, in my opinion, is sugar. keeping in mind sugar's in everything, It's literally in everything, and even our fast food places, there's sugar in all of those burgers, all of those meals. That's what keeps people going back there, I think that's something we overlook as well. There's sugar in everything. So for me, the oral health is a symptom, or poor oral health is a symptom of a much greater issue. So in just my personal opinion, of obviously no professional expertise whatsoever, I don't think it's an effective way to look after our kids' oral health. But I'm conflicted in that the potential risks either way. We fluoridate, then there's risk to our health, potential risk to our health, and then if we don't, we go down this avenue of an injection. What are the potential risks, I guess, to our ratepayer, to our council, all of those sort of things. And I commend Councillor Benny for his work and his, the motion he's brought forward and his massive efforts to try and, I guess, ratify any of those potential threats. So either way, I'm very, very conflicted. But I do think that, again, my own opinion, I do think that Councillor Benny's motion that he moved earlier takes into considerations a lot of my doubts and a lot of my conflicts. So with that in mind, I won't be supporting the current motion that Councillor Connop has moved.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Councillor.
amendment, sorry.
Yeah, we understand what you're saying. Thank you very much. Councillor Olsen?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question. And it is a question, if this had gone to a referendum and the public voted or told us they didn't want it as a majority, what would we have done then? Would we still be going down this path?
Yeah, Councillor, in accordance with the Health Act, 1956, Section 116H, it actually says a local authority that receives a direction under Section 116E or an invitation to comment under Section 116G is not required to consult on any matter related to the direction or invitation.
Yeah, I think on major matters it should be. But anyway, and just a final comment, totally support Councillor Benny. Thank you for your hard work, Gavin. And, look, it is about education. And once decay sets in, fluoride's not going to help anyway. So we need to put the ambulance at the top of the cliff, not at the bottom.
Thank you, Councillor Olsen. Councillor Golightly.
Oh. Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. Interesting sort of around the table and hearing sort of views, and I can understand that there are conflicts and it can be a tough decision. For me, that I think standing ground with the decision that we made, it reflects our ability to trust our judgment. There's always going to be criticism and internal pressure, and it's important to sort of remain open to feedback, but standing our ground shows resilience and confidence in our values and our priorities. For me, this is not just defending, my opinion, and saying no to mandated medication. Something we all experienced a few years ago. We did not have a choice, and it's also about honouring the process. Mandated medication undermines personal autonomy and the fundamental right we must all have to make informed decisions about our own body and our own health. So I won't be voting for this amendment by Nicholas Connop, and I will continue to say no on behalf of our ratepayers and uphold the oath I take to say no to fluoride in our water.
Thank you, Councillor. The members of the public are showing support there. Councillor Connor.
I'd like to speak to it now, thanks.
Yep.
Well, actually, I do have a question first. In regards to our positions here, are we in power in this space because of legislation from central government?
Sorry, councillor, are you asking, are we in this situation today due to the legislation that we're...
No. Going before even this decision here, as members of a council, are we in power because of central government giving us that power to be able to be in that space?
You're referring to the Local Government Act? The Local
Yes.
Government Act does refer to the power of the people to provide elected bodies to their positions, yes.
Yes, so we're in power because of central government.
That is one interpretation. It's effectively yes. The other interpretation is that the public are given the ability to elect leaders.
Yeah, and
Yep.
through that way. And it may not be relevant to this, but might be relevant to this, depending. If a council does not make a decision that central government is supportive of, is it central government that have the ability to appoint commissioners to take over that council to redo it?
There is always the opportunity for central government at any time to appoint commissioners, as you have seen in Wellington, where they have appointed an observer. That is generally over finance issues more than anything, because that's specifically what they've been focused on. They did that for Tauranga and for Kaipara, and it was all in relation to finances.
That's right. Thank you very much for answering the questions. Now, my comments, please. I haven't been bullied into this position. I don't feel, as many emails that we've received, and I've looked through them all as well, I don't feel bullied into this position. I'm not in the state where I'm scared for it, this, that, or the other. One of the biggest reasons that I'm supporting this way of going is the biggest cost of implementation, of the cost of actually inputting it, and the potential of fines as well. Earlier comments were made of the taxpayer paying for it all. That is true. But if it comes to the ratepayer to have to pay it through us, that cost is much bigger versus the smaller spread over everybody. Around comments around community. There's 14 of us sitting here in the chamber today. Every single decision we make will make a different community that we will be, in a manner of speaking, supporting or not supporting. Because there's not one person here that is exactly the same for every decision. There are places where I would question when somebody would vote one way, and I'm surprised that they voted a different way. So we have very, very many communities in this space. From the additional information that we were provided as well, the concern of the other regional deals gets brought up. There's a concern to the rest of Te Tautokoro Northland, of which, if we do this, we may be causing those regional deals to be able to fall through and not get supported, when we know we desperately need that funding in these spaces.
Point of order.
Yes, point of order. What's the point of order?
That is opinion. Thank you. Opinion only, and should not be expressed that way.
It is an opinion which is in the documentation. I think, Councillor Connop, you are just referring to that opinion, are you not?
Yes?
Okay.
I'd also like to draw a point and saying that there's many opinions that have been thrown around of what a word is. And I'm not going to say any of the, but there's various versions of what people think of these things. There's the cost of staff time that we've had to go and relitigate and keep on doing this, that is costing us to be here right now. The amount of toxins in our environment everywhere, from the cards, from the roads, from the plastic, we have out there. This is a natural element. There are many elements that we have out there, and
Keep going, Councillor.
there are so many other things that we need to take the fight to central government for rubbish, for the environment, for health, for schooling, for everything. Most of those do not sit with us. That decision is made by central government, and that is where we need to take the fight. I do not think that this should be taken through here and wasting extra time and money.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move a procedural motion. We take the vote, please.
Procedural motion is?
That we make a call on this amendment.
You asked for the amendment to be put. Okay. A procedural motion. I need a seconder for that. You've spoken for Councillor Olsen. Councillor Jovich, you're seconding the procedural motion?
Just a clarification, sorry, Your Worship. Yep. This is going to the vote, is it?
A procedural motion has been called for that the amendment be put. It has now been seconded, so now we have to vote on whether the amendment's to be put or we continue discussion on it.
So there will be a vote. Thank you.
That is correct. Yep. So the procedural motion will now be put. All those in favour, division has been called by Councillor Connop. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Councillor Jovich, Councillor Reid,
This is about the amendment. The amendment to be put, as in that we will come to the amendment next. It's about the procedural motion is the first part.
Councillor Ruka, Councillor Reid, Councillor Jovich, Councillor Ruka, Councillor Reid, Councillor Olsen, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Harding, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Golightly, Councillor Connop, Councillor Benny, Councillor Peters.
Those against?
Yes, Councillor Mackenzie and His Worship the Mayor and Councillor Cooper. Carried.
That has been carried. The procedural motion will now be put. Division has been called. All those in favour of the amendment, just for clarification so that everyone understands, is the motion that's in the papers at the moment and is up on the screen. All those in favour, please raise your right hand.
Councillor Jovich, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Harding, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Connop, Councillor Peters,
Those against?
Councillor Ruka, Councillor Reid, Councillor Olsen, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Golightly, Councillor Benny, His Worship the Mayor.
Yep. And as it's a tie, what we will be doing is we'll continue to be debating, so to actually get an answer out. So it's a clear direction either way.
Your Worship, just for clarification,
Yes?
does that mean those who have spoken before may speak again?
That means this motion will be lost. We'll go back to the original motion, and we will be able to have those people who've spoken for the original motion can speak, yes.
So just for clarification, you are voting against the motion, the amendment to the motion, as you're using your casting vote to vote against the amendment to the motion?
We are voting to make sure the discussion keeps going.
No, you are voting against the amendment, Your Worship. Am I clear on that?
Just 1 second, just make sure I get the right wording here.
Of course I'm right.
Why can't he just cast a vote?
He is. That's what I'm saying. He's using his...
He's got to use it.
Mm.
Does he have to use it?
Yep.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm just double checking with the standing orders to make sure whether they do actually get to speak again or not. Go a second. According to standing orders, just to make sure of this, we go back to the debate of the amendment as it is, and then we keep going with that discussion for all people to have their say.
So I just
And only those who have not spoken will be speaking.
Your Worship, just for clarification, there was a procedural motion put to vote on the amendment, and there was a 7-all draw.
That's correct.
So then are you not putting your casting vote?
That is correct in this situation because I believe the discussion still needs to be happening.
But
I've made the ruling on that, Councillor Cooper, so that we'll be going back to the discussion, and those who have not spoken have the ability to speak.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I have a question, Your Worship.
Yes, Councillor Cooper?
I have one too.
Oh, sorry.
No, Councillor Cooper, you got a question?
To further the discussion, but I see I'm not the next one in the queue, Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor, actually, councillors, I just need to point out, as I'm chairing the meeting, I'll say who's speaking next. So if you are speaking. If you're not, then I'll hand it over to Councillor Harding.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I had a question of the Chief Executive. If, as has been suggested, when we accepted the money for making ourselves fluoridation capable, which is, there is a sum of a bit over $2.5 million that's been paid, and another sum that we will be reimbursed if we complete the fluoridation and proceed with it. So I think it's about $4 million. It's a question of the Chief Executive. One, what is that sum? And two, if we have to pay it back, what budget would that come out of, and what rates equivalent would that be? Thank you.
So the councillor is referring to the contract, and the contract is quite clear inside there. It actually states that, and I will check with the CE because we discussed this yesterday. The contract is quite specific. It refers to the completion of the construction of works, not on the additional fluoridation. The additional fluoridation is of the last payment.
So it'll be a question to the Chief Executive, Your Worship, and I do appreciate your thoughts on it. But if we do not put the fluoridation into the water, will we be paid the final payment? And will we have to reimburse the money that we've received so far for the work for fluoridation?
I don't believe we'll be paid the final payment, which is $2.278 million. The money that's been paid to date, the contract, the way the contract's written, it's it may well be the case that it's difficult for the ministry to get that money back, but nevertheless they may try and do that.
Thank you.
Just, Councillor, I need to highlight that as an opinion. In accordance to the contract, very specific wording of the contract, it clearly states, and I will read it out to the councillors so the councillors are all well aware of what the contract actually says. Under 2.2 of the contract, it says the conditions, and Part B says completing construction of the works on or prior to the completion date given by the Director General of Health in issuing a directive to fluoridate each drinking water supply. Catch the words there, completing construction of works. Under 2.4, which says repayment of ministry fund, it clearly states, if the authority fails to meet the requirements set out within the concept design report or fails to meet any or more of the conditions in clause 2.2, it must promptly refund the ministry in full. The ministry funding amounts actually paid to the authority in one sum without set-off or deductions upon request by the ministry.
Thank you, Your Worship, and that's very clear. So, if I may, for asking the Chief Executive a further question, there seems to be two scenarios, Simon, and the first scenario is that there will be a fight for the money, and we would be out of pocket $2.7 million. That equates to roughly how many percentage of rates?
Just a point of order, if I can.
Yes, Councillor Benny.
So, Councillor Cooper is relying on the 28th of November decision, not the decision regarding the injunction. The injunction throws a whole new light on these fees. This is not us saying no, this is us pausing it while the new Health New Zealand case is heard. So I just want to make that clear, because we're talking like we are deliberately deciding not to fluoridate. That has now been and gone.
So, Councillor, your point of order has been raised and it's acknowledged. Councillor Cooper, you are referring to the amendment, are you not? And you're speaking to the amendment?
I am speaking to the amendment that is here.
Yes. So please make sure that you refer to the amendment and the amendment topics.
Yep, very pertinent questions, I believe. But we're talking about ratepayers' money, the people that we are, as has been pointed out, sworn to look after their interests, Your Worship. So the question is, 2.78 million equates to about how many percentage of rates?
It's actually 2.278, not 2.7.
2.278, yes.
Regardless, it's probably around 2%.
2% of rates, just so there is that to bear in mind. I guess the other part of the situation is we have entered into an agreement, we've accepted money, and what sort of effect will that have with our relation, whether or not the fine print says we can give it back or not? What sort of effect would that have a relation in your experience, and I'm asking you for your opinion, in your experience with central government or with the Ministry of Health, DIA, whoever it was that gave us that money?
At this present moment, any answer from the Chief Executive is purely speculative, so it needs to be acknowledged that.
That's why I said it was his opinion, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
In my opinion, I don't think it will help relationships. I don't think it would be helpful.
You don't think it will help relationships? So therefore, last question, Your Worship, and I appreciate your accommodating my questions. When we have an item in our agenda which says that the Department of Internal Affairs has highlighted that may be inconsistent with the regional deal strategic framework, and as a council and our obligations to the other councils who are going for regional deals where we are asking for 4-lane highways, port extensions, dry docks.
Point of order.
Economic.
Point of order has been raised, Councillor Hulse.
That is not part of the discussion for regional deals. That's why I did not want it to be in part of this meeting this morning, because that is totally different, and the speculation around that, coming from both speakers at the moment, are highly opinions only. I represent this council on that committee. Thank you.
Fair comment, Councillor Hulse. Councillor Cooper, can I please remind you, when you're asking your questions, please speak to the actual motion and be specific about that. Any reason for speculation needs to be removed from that conversation.
Well, it's not speculation, Your Worship. It's in our documents here, which has been formally accepted by the Chamber today. And what I'm saying is, they've referenced the regional deals in here. The regional deal consists of a 4-lane highway, a port extension, it consists of dry dock, it consists of housing, and it consists of economic growth for our region. And it explicitly says that we are potentially risking that.
Councillor Cooper,
and the question is...
Councillor Cooper, can you please show me where in that agenda of 4.1.1 where it says anything about 4-lane highway and it says port expansion? Can you show me anywhere in that concept?
I will read it out,
Councillor Cooper, show me where in that document, please.
The Department of Internal Affairs has highlighted that the recent Council resolution dated the 28th of November 2024 may be inconsistent with the regional deals strategic framework. Now, that begs the question, what is in the regional deal, Your Worship? And maybe you can tell us, you and Councillor Hulse, a Mayor and Deputy Mayor of our district, and you are working on the regional deal. So you tell us what's in the regional deal and what potentially will be put at risk.
Councillor Cooper, that is something that I'm unable to tell you because that is a discussion between the 4 councils working together, as was the previous agenda item on the 28th of November, where we actually selected and chose, actually it was later on that, it's 13th of December, where we selected and chose that Northern Inc. would be representation of that. There is nothing on the table at the present moment, Councillor Cooper, and any comment to any other ideas is purely speculation. So, Councillor Cooper, please refrain from your conversations and please keep to the topic.
Well, I think, Your Worship, what it comes down to for me, and this is why I'm asking these questions, is about transparency, Your Worship. What are we really putting at risk here? And you know, this is a decision about fluoridation, but the ramifications go to the width and breadth of our region. And I think the elected members, when we consider this decision, need to be aware of that. And also, when leadership is mentioned, I think we need to be aware of that as well. So thank you very much.
Point of order, please.
Yeah, Councillor Hulse.
I take offence at that last comment because the leadership of that group is going particularly well, that he's referring to.
Councillor Cooper, please.
To back up the bid, no decision has been made on the regional deal. We're working on a program, but one thing that is in the regional deal, there will be no speculation. Thank you.
Councillor Cooper, your comments, while I understand where you're going through them, are actually not appropriate to this conversation that we're having and the debate that we're presently having.
Shall we strike them from the record, Your Worship?
I would appreciate that.
Never happened.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just I'm concerned when I hear
Councillor Reid, have you
things
got...
outside the amendment.
No, have you got a question? Because you've already apparently spoken.
No, I have not spoken.
You only did a procedure motion. Yeah, you only did a procedure motion, so he hasn't spoken. Sorry, councillor, keep going.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been waiting patiently in the background. I will not be supporting this amendment, and I'm quite concerned that we're discussing the amendment and we've been taken off track. And when you get taken off track, that spoils people's train of thought. Sometimes it's done deliberately, sometimes it's done accidentally. In this case, I will let you be your own judges. Right, I'm going to go on the record here, and that means I'm not going to wander around the hills talking to the little animals. Not everyone's going to agree with what I have to say, but that's democracy at work. For me, this is not about the money. This is about a moral decision. And that moral decision is reflected directly because I've been put here by our ratepayers to make the best decision that I possibly can for them, not for me. Fluoride's not going to make any difference to my teeth, I can assure you. And as Councillor Rooker stated earlier, sugar is actually the evil, not fluoride. So with that, I think we really need to put our hands up here and make a stand. I've got probably 200 or more emails put in a folder on my computer, and I think there's about 4 or possibly 5 asking me to vote for fluoride. So how can I sit in this seat and listen to 5 people and ignore 195? So I think you know where I'm going with this. I am not in favour of this amendment, and I will be supporting Councillor Benny to jail or the grave, either or.
Thank you, councillor. Members of the public, please, again, sign language. Councillors, I have just been informed from the team that the amendment was actually lost and we actually have to go, we're actually talking to the original motion. So Councillor Cooper and Councillor Reid and Councillor Benny have spoken to the original motion.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I've just been checked by the team here. So Councillor McKenzie, you've got a question?
Point of order.
Yep.
You said that the vote was tied and there would be a continuation on the discussion on the amendment.
On the amendment.
Councillor, I have to apologise. I was wrong in accordance to the team here, and they have made it very, very clear to me where in the standing orders I was wrong, and we actually have...
Can you make that clear to us? Because we were led to believe that this discussion was continuing.
So the vote was tied, casting vote was not used. The amendment was lost because it could not be passed by a majority. So we're going back to, we're on the motion now.
Yeah, that's right.
Councillor Benny's motion.
Bring the standing orders to the meeting.
Point of order,
Highly,
please.
highly unusual, Your Worship.
Councillor
Point of
Harding.
order. See, that was the question I wanted to ask you, but you decided that, no, you will take Councillor Cooper because you can make the decision who gets to speak. And my question is going to be exactly that, clarification around whether that the amendment was lost or whether it stayed because you needed to use your casting vote. You didn't, so what did that mean? And now, 20 minutes later, we're back to...
Your point of order has been raised, Councillor
lost.
Harding, and I've taken Councillor Cooper's questions because Councillor Cooper was asking questions on that to try and get things through.
Nothing against him, it was just, I really needed to.
At the next available moment, which is when the team actually highlighted to me, which was just when Councillor Reid was speaking, because he was straight after Councillor Cooper, and that's where the clarification was done.
So, where are we at right now?
Right now, we are debating on the original motion. The amendment was
Councillor
lost
Benny
as
put
according
forward.
to the standing orders.
And the
Which councillor?
recommendation that Councillor Conant put up is now no longer
Correct.
to be discussed or voted on.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So we're back to the original one that Councillor
Correct.
Bennett. Thank you very much.
Councillor McKenzie.
A question, Your Worship. now that we apparently are debating Councillor Benny's original motion, the question is, from my reading of it, that does not appear to revoke point 1 of the resolution dated the 28th of November 2024. Therefore, are we not still in contravention of the directive from the Director General of Health? Because that has not been revoked.
So according to...
I'm asking the Chief Executive, Your Worship. It's a question
fine.
through you.
Ask Chief Executive.
Correct.
Point of order.
That's actually not correct. If you
Point of
read
order,
the
yes.
amendment there, it's actually quite clear. At this point, I'm going to adjourn us for 10 minutes so that we can actually go through this and sort this out.
Get your gloves out.
We being who? You and Simon?
If you read the motion. Please remain, put back in your seats, please. Councillors. Members of the public, please be seated. The next person on the questions list here was Councillor Peters, but I'm not seeing Councillor Peters. So just to answer Councillor Mackenzie's question there, in accordance to the documentation, Councillor Benny is not revoking the motion, so it's stating as it is. Does it put us into contradiction? According to the injunction process that is in there, there is a chance that it can put us into contradiction with the Act, yes.
So just to clarify, Your Worship, we are continuing to contravene the Health Act 1956, clause 116J, which says it's an offence to contravene or permit contravention of section 116L. Just to remind you, section 116L is local authority must comply with direction. And because this isn't being revoked, we're still in contravention of the law. And
Point of
therefore,
order.
Yep, Councillor Benny?
There is no contravention of the directive. The directive states we must fluoridate as at the 28th of March 2025. It is not the 28th of March 2025. We are not in contravention of it at this stage.
The point of order has been had. Councillor Mackenzie, do you understand what Councillor Benny is stating?
yeah, I completely disagree with that because that is the direction that has been given by this council on the 28th of November. You can't say that there might be another direction given in a later date. You have to rely on the decision that's been made to date, surely.
A point of order again? Yep. No, you don't, clearly. The directive is clear, 28th of March 2025. Until then, we are compliant with it.
Can I get an answer from Simon, please, Your Worship?
You're actually probably asking a legal question here, and that needs to get an answer from our legal team.
Yeah, well, fine.
Okay, so I think our legal team need to answer that one.
Through the chair, essentially, the decision that's on the floor, you make that decision, so that's the direction you've got. So the kind of direction of argument that you're placing is correct.
So therefore, another sorry, continue.
And just to add to that, given that that is the case, failing to comply with fluoridation could mean the definition of a problem or a significant or persistent failure by a local authority to perform one or more of its functions or duties under any enactment. Deciding that problem is also significant per the Act and therefore justifies intervention is more difficult to kind of assess at this point in time, but it could present itself as a problem, and I think that that's where you're leading to.
Simon, I think we need to actually go to the Act there and actually read the Act. It actually quite clearly states, 116I2, it actually states, if the direction requires fluoride to be added to the drinking water, the local authority must take all practical steps to ensure that the specified level of fluoride is present in the water immediately before it is available for consumption. That is what is actually the requirement of the Act. So the fact that the motion that has been provided by Councillor Benny is not actually saying, is going to an injunction, that still allows us 2 months before the actual addition of fluoride needs to happen, because as we have always been told, that the date of fluoridation needs to happen by the 28th of March. We are also required by our team, as they have stated many times, that they need 1 month of testing beforehand, which should be the 28th of February. So that we have 2 months to do an urgent injunction, which is what Councillor Benny has actually highlighted. So at this present moment, there is nothing in contradiction to what the Act is. Once we go past the 28th of February, then we will be in contradiction of the Act.
That contradicts what the CE has said, so I'd like some clarification, please, from legal staff or from the CE.
I've just read you the Act and the words that are in the Act, councillor. While I appreciate you may not accept my opinion, this is quite clearly the words of the Act.
I've got the Act open, Your Worship. I'm well aware of the Act. I'm not asking you, I'm asking the legal staff. Thank you.
You're asking through me, the legal staff.
Correct.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Councillor Hulse?
Point of order is the chair of the meeting has the sole say on matters. Thank you.
Point's been taken. Simon, is the legal team going to respond to
Just sought some advice from the legal team, and it says not to do it, so you're correct.
Thank
That
you.
is referring to the act of it. That is not referring to the time frame. So,
Your Worship, I asked for clarification from the legal team. You're giving your opinion over and above what the legal advice has been given. I asked specifically for the legal opinion. Thank you.
you've been received a legal advice, yes?
I have
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you.
Councillor Harding.
Thank you, Te Kora Matua. I just want to ask the Chief Executive, if that's okay, just around, did we apply to the government for an extension, for the building of the infrastructure, the water infrastructure, and did we get a response that we could, and I'm just trying to think back, was there a commitment, yes, you can extend as long as there's a commitment that you will fluoride, you will add that fluoride. Can you just remind me if that was a document that we received? Thank you. Because I feel like we kind of had partially committed ourselves. We sort of
Yeah, through the chair, we requested an extension because, the reason that extension was granted was because we were struggling to get equipment from overseas, and the Director General granted the extension, obviously, until the 28th of March. So there was no specific undertakings other than we were under the directive, so, yeah.
Okay, so there wasn't a kind of
Through the
hook.
chair.
Through the chair, so there wasn't a hook in to say that, yes, we'll grant you this extension as it looks, as it looks like there's a commitment that you will fluoride.
Simon?
There's a commitment for us to fluoridate.
Fluoridate. So that's correct. There was a document that stated that.
Yeah, and to be able to do that, as stated previously, a month before that date, we need to commence
Point of order.
fluoridation.
Councillor Benny, point of order, yep.
Point of order. Mr. Venmore has just answered that. The CE has contradicted that answer. There was no, he stated, there was no compulsion, there was no understanding, no agreement that we asked for an extension, we were given an extension. End of story. Let's not make stuff up here.
So,
I wasn't making stuff, I was just through the chair.
Councillor Harding, in the light of the information not being present with us, I'm going to ask the team to actually provide that letter and provide the information on that so that Simon can actually read it out, what it states. Because until then, we're getting speculation here, and I need to make sure we actually have facts in front of us. And since we don't have that in the agenda pack, then we cannot stipulate that.
Thank you.
Councillor Olsen, you'd like to speak to this?
Am I allowed to? I'm just checking.
Yes, you are. Sorry, my apologies, Councillor Olsen. I've actually had Councillor Peters waiting.
Do it. Go,
yep.
go.
Councillor Peters.
Afraid mine is on the same line, trying to work out what we've done so far or haven't done so far. We've voted against this, and if you count the numbers, we're likely to vote against it again. So does that mean that we have fallen behind in the work that we're doing? Should we be directed on February or whatever it is to do this? If we're directed and what happens? Does this come back again to us? What's the next stage? That's my question.
Yep,
really.
it's a good question, Councillor, and to answer that one in a simple terms, then yes, that would have to come back to Council to make a decision to before the 28th of February.
So if we decide to fluoridate, then it won't come back. But if we do supply, unless someone brings an injection or whatever, I'm sorry, I'm a bit fuzzy, lots of morphine here. Unless, what was I going to say? Yeah, and unless, if we decide to do it, then it doesn't come back. If we decide not to do it, not to fluoridate, does it come back automatically? Is that,
The question you're
I'm
asking is
just trying to summarize.
no, Councillor, the question you're asking is actually a very good question. You're asking if the motion was to be lost today, and that means we required, there would have to be another motion put up to actually reverse it back, or we actually would cancel, the old motion stays on the table, which is actually that we've not to fluoridate. If we are required to, if the Director General of Health, as the Director of General Health has already provided in a letter, their ruling actually overrules councils, and the concern here is what the CE is bringing up, is that he has a directive from his councillors, his elected members, stating to not fluoridate, yet the Director General of Health overrules that and is actually able to say to fluoridate. So it puts the CE into a very difficult situation. What the CE is asking for is clarity on that so that he is able to complete his task in accordance to both the Director General's requirement and also in accordance to Council's directions.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Councillor Olsen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm really quite confused. So I just want some clarity. So at the moment, we voted no to fluoridate. What this proposal by Councillor Benny is like a stay of execution until the legal ruling of the court in, when was it, Gavin? I can't remember. So we're not and I support Councillor Benny. We're just pausing, aren't we, with this recommendation until we get that legal opinion. Is that correct?
So in accordance to the way Councillor Benny's motion, I'm just waiting for Councillor Benny's motion up on the screen here, because it's not the same one that I have on my screen. He's instructing the Mayor and the CE to write to the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Health members and Northern members of Parliament of the decision. He is asking for item 5. That extension is sought on the grounds that there is a serious conflicting views to the safety and effectiveness of community water fluoridation, which he has provided evidence of. 6, further notes that the Whangarei has never fluoridated their water supply, and the last referendum in 2022 was clearly against fluoridation of our water supplies. And 7, alongside the letter, is if an extension is not granted by the Director General, Council seeks an urgent interim injunction staying the Director General's directive until the New Health New Zealand judicial review against the Director General is finally decided.
Yep, thank you. Just one more question, and it's in response to your comment about putting the CEO in a difficult position, and I appreciate that, but isn't it your role, Simon, to support us in our decisions?
The CE's role is always to support his councils, and I don't think there's anyone who could say anything different to that. Simon, now you have received an answer for Councillor Harding's question.
I certainly have, and this is a correspondence. It is from the Director General of Health. It is dated 6 June 2024. This has been presented to Council previously in the previous agenda items. And I can read it if you want in its totality, but I think the key paragraph for Council, which will answer the question, in accordance with Section 116I of the Health Act 1956, you are required to ensure that you are fluoridating at the optimum levels, in brackets between 0.7 milligrams per litre and 1 milligram per litre, close brackets, at the Bream Bay water supply and the Far Valley and Ruddles water treatment plants of the Whangarei water supply by the 28th of March 2025.
So the letter clearly states that there is an indication there that it will be, we would be fluoridating by that date. That does Simon, does that letter actually refer to the fact that that is the reason why they're giving us the funds or the extension?
It refers to a letter that we wrote to them, 3rd of May 2024, seeking amendment to the compliance date for the Directorate General Health Direction to the Whangarei District Council to fluoridate the Whangarei and Bream Bay water supplies. And then it goes into the detail of the plants that need to be in compliance. And it looks like it just talks about the compliance and the compliance dates and the plants.
Okay. So there's no actual requirement as of there, no expectation.
No, there's a full expectation that we'll be fluoridating.
I've
just read that.
Yeah, it's on the 28th of March. Yep. So in accordance to Councillor Benny's motion that he's provided, there is nothing actually in there which actually contradicts that at this present moment.
Council's got a resolution on the books from the previous notice of motion that currently stands on that states not to fluoridate.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I want to talk specifically to the motion on the table from Councillor Benny. So, and there are many points here that I could agree with. So I'm not for a moment discounting everything that's in this for a second, and I certainly want to acknowledge the amount of work that Councillor Benny's put into arriving at this point and the level of passion that he's shown. I want to refer specifically to item 7 of the motion, and I believe that we have little or no chance of success of achieving an interim injunction. That's an opinion, and I appreciate that won't rest with everybody. I think, furthermore, if we do apply for an injunction, I think, as other speakers have said, we'll be sending a very clear and unambiguous message to central government that Whangarei District is a council that maybe they should think twice about before getting into bed with for other work. Again, my opinion on that. I'm mindful also that only this week we've had a lot in the press from both the Minister for Local Government and the Prime Minister. Comments made, not, I think, aimed at us specifically as a council, but more generally for local government. And a paraphrase, they're saying stick to the knitting, which in their view is potholes, pipes, roads. Don't get distracted by other things. And I think taking us down the road of seeking an injunction is not our core business. And we can debate what the real cost of that will be. I appreciate there's been an estimate given. Irrespective, there is a cost involved in that, and if we were to lose, as I believe we would, there's also a possibility, nothing more than a possibility, we'd get hit with costs as well. So I think there is a financial implication for this. I also just want to say that I, and you close me down if you think I'm inappropriate, Your Worship, but I feel for the staff in this because I believe they've exercised their duty in a diligent and professional way and given us the best advice that they can in accordance with their brief. And I want to thank them for that. And I think in closing, I can't support this for a number of reasons, but I think that I'm mindful again of something Councillor Benny said much earlier on in the debate, and Councillor Benny will correct me, I'm sure, if I've got this wrong, but I wrote it down at the time, when he said that this is a massive, deliberate attempt to deceive. I think were the words Councillor Benny used, and I just don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. So on that basis, I can't support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes, for that. Councillor Mackenzie.
I'd like to move an amendment, Your Worship.
And the amendment would be?
I would like to add point 4 from the original recommendation, revokes point 1 of the resolution dated 28th of November 2024 that states, resolves not to not add fluoride to the Whangarei District's water supplies as required by the directive from the Ministry of Health, MOH.
Just 1 second, please. So just for clarification, Councillor Mackenzie, I need to understand this. Are you asking for point 4 to be added to, as point 11 to Councillor Benny's motion?
Correct.
Okay, do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Rooker, you're seconding that? Okay. Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I would, Your Worship, briefly. I think I've already asked the question that if we don't revoke the previous decision made by Council, and it's been confirmed by the CE and legal advice given by legal counsel, that we continue to contravene our requirements under the Health Act 1956, which was amended in 2021, by unanimous vote, let me remind you, by all parties in the third hearing, all parties voted for the Health Amendment Act 2021, all 4 parties that were in Parliament at the time. There was no one who voted against it. To give the Director General of Health the delegation to make this decision. So without adding this particular point, we continue to be in a state where we are not complying with the law. That has been confirmed. So that is my reason for adding that. I don't agree with many of the other points in this motion, but I do think that it's absolutely essential that we have point 11 in there so that at least, at the very least, Councillor Benny's attempts to mitigate some of the risks that have been highlighted by being in a legal position are indeed mitigated, because without that, they are not.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Do we have anyone to speak to the amendment? Councillor Hulse.
Okay, for me, nothing much changed from the last meeting we've had. Everyone's gone back to their corners and not looking for a way forward. Councillor Benny has put up a very, very good motion, but I'm going to talk to the amendment here. It actually, I think, it just dismisses the 10 points above it. And I think it's made quite clear with Councillor Benny what his aim was. But anyway, I want to talk about this whole scenario. So way back, like I said, the last time we discussed this, I said I was part of the council in 2002 that rejected fluoride being added to the water. And at the same time, our public came out strongly, around about 80%, in a poll that say they do not want fluoride added to their drinking water. And amazingly, and I got a copy of the newspaper that day, Mrs. Patasi, who was actually Director General of Health, who met with the Northern DHB at Whangarei Hospital, said she saw fluoridation as a big issue. Wow, 22 years ago. And nothing has been done, by the way, on this till now. We ought to be encouraging the councils to fluoridate public water supplies and providing them with information on fluoridation, she said. Councils have to make the important decision. We think that should be for the fluoridation, but it's their democratic decision to make. From the Director General of Health saying it is our democratic right to make this decision. But now we've morphed on. Councillor Mackenzie just mentioned the Act in 2021 was changed. That is because we went into COVID. And under the COVID situation, the government of the day brought in a lot of legislation changes on review you wouldn't stand in today's world. Those reviews, those regulations they put in place...
Point of order, Your Worship.
I'm allowed to debate.
The point of order is,
The point of order is that it was a unanimous vote. It wasn't brought in by one particular government. It was brought in and voted on by every party in Parliament. It was a unanimous decision.
okay, so your point of order has been noted. Councillor Hulse has only referred to the government of the day. He's not referred to any particular party. So he's actually made it quite clear on that. You've said the government of the day. He's said the government of the day. So there is actually no difference in that.
I've said that it was a unanimous vote across all parties,
Yes,
Your Worship.
and Councillor Hulse has said the government of the day, which is the whole government. So it's the same statement.
Yeah, all of Parliament.
Councillor,
Yeah.
same statement. Councillor Hulse, keep going.
So could I start my 5 minutes again?
No, I'm
Because
sorry.
that is a long interruption.
Keep going, Councillor.
Okay, so after the COVID came through, and no one today would tolerate our nurses and medical practitioners losing their jobs because they weren't vaccinated. We wouldn't tolerate that today if that is put in front of us. That is the after effect. After COVID, they went through, and I've done my homework, they revoked COVID-19 orders and notices. They've revoked most of those orders they had. And most of those orders have now expired. But here we are, the same director from the previous government is this new director of health, was appointed by the previous government, Ashley Bloomfield's replacement. So Ashley Bloomfield had all this legislation to do what he did. In comes a new one and thinks she had the same mandate. Well, sorry, we're challenging whether she still has that mandate to do that. Because why I do that is because she is challenging only 14 councils in the country. Had it been a national-wide one, like I said, it would have been a different story. We would have followed. But because it's selective, it is not the way to get people on side. So some of the other things I've been looking up and actually smiling when you say it. Around this room today, all our most experienced councillors are actually supporting Councillor Bennett's motion, based on experience in this room and our role as elected members. We take an oath, and I said I'll read it out, because our public don't get to see it. They don't get to hear it. I, Philip Ross Hulse, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of the councillor in the best interest of the people of the Bream Bay Ward and the Whangarei District Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1992 and any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Right at the very start of this meeting, I pointed out the Local Government Act and our requirements. The CEO is employed by our council to follow our lead. Our lead was not to put fluoride in the drinking waters. Now, if the government wants to say the Act overrides that, where is that information in our agenda? That's what I asked before. Why isn't that not in our agenda? Why is there's no anti-fluoride information in our agenda? If we got up to 185 pages, a few more pages wouldn't have hurt, would it? So this has been a one-sided debate on the information supplied by two elected members. But go back, our most experienced people in this room feel that council should be making the decision.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Holmes, sorry.
My point of order is that it's the second time now Councillor Hulse has referred to the more experienced councillors making the right decision and the less experienced councillors not knowing what they're talking about. And I take personal offence at that.
Okay. Councillor Hulse.
Well, I'll rephrase that. The longest serving members who have been in this chamber a while.
Councillor Hulse, I do need to remind you that it is 5 minutes as well.
Okay. So just to wrap up, our last motion allowed the Director General of Health to come and negotiate with us. But she refused that. Firstly, straight away, she stonewalled us by saying, you'll follow my direction. Very much like Ashley Bloomfield did during COVID. Stonewalled us. What about this for a solution? It's going to cost us $100,000, $130,000 in our agenda to fluoride water. Why didn't the government put 50% of that in? We put 50% in, and that's $1,000 per head of capita that we could actually give to our people to say, put some pills in your cupboard and use them, put some toothpaste in your cupboard and use them, by the way, buy a few toothbrushes and actually have $20,000 for an education process. That's what we were aiming to do, but we were totally stonewalled. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hulse. Yep, members of the public are acknowledging that. Councillor Rooker.
Thank you, Worship. I hate to go after Councillor Hulse, I'll stay seating. So, seconded the amendment. In my opinion, it doesn't negate the 10 points before it. I just think it's looking at it, reading it, it seems like just another added safety net. We get rid of that. It gives our staff a clearer direction, so it's not so ambiguous in terms of what we're trying to do. Clearer direction, we've removed that. Those 10 points still stand. We still, the process is the same. The only added point is that we removed that and try and just add another layer of safety. That's how it comes across to me. Hence why I seconded it. So just speaking to fluoridation real quickly, I just don't think that the means is worthy of the outcomes. That's kind of my personal opinion on that. I think the means is huge, invasive, for what seems to be, based on the research we've looked at and the notes we've got, not a huge outcome for the oral health of the people we're talking about. I just think the risks far outweigh the potential outcomes. That's my personal take on it. I don't want to get too caught up in, in debating it or telling anyone that they're wrong in this room. That's not the case. That's just my personal stance and my personal opinion on it. I don't think the means are a good enough justification of the potential outcomes. I think there are much more effective things that we can look at, and hopefully these, 11 points allow us to have further conversations so we can look at more options, further education, further resourcing of family in need who need those tools to have better oral hygiene, better access, better accessibility for, high impoverished areas to oral hygiene. I just think there are more effective solutions than this one for our people. And like I said, completely a personal opinion on that. But I will be 100% transparent, and I will say that this is by no means an easy debate or an easy decision. Sitting on there are a lot of opinions in this room, all opinions that I genuinely appreciate and respect, and to debate on either side of the fence of that is a difficult position to be in. But that's why we're here. So, tēnā koutou.
Thank you, Councillor Rooker. Councillor Peters, I see your light is on. Is that you going to speak, or you forgot to take the light off?
No, it is not me leaving my light on. I've had my light on for some time, but haven't actually been observed. I turned it off after my question. I have now another question.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just not good. Hold on, my blood pressure is at 170. They've just taken it. So this is not good for any of us. So I noted Councillor Olsen's comment at the end that the CE's job is to do what the councillors say. In fact, the CE's job is to advise us about the law and also to carry out what we instruct. So sometimes, as in this case, the two things do not agree. So I think it's unfair to say that the CE is not carrying out his duties. Did I use an acronym? Yes, I did. Chief Executive did not follow direction.
Point of order, I didn't say that at all. I said his job is to support us in our decisions.
Yeah, and Councillor Olsen, I did actually, it was a question that you did ask, and I did answer the question. So Councillor Peters, just to highlight there, I did explain what the role of the CEs was, which was to support the councillors, as what Councillor Olsen has said. However, he's been put in a very difficult situation because he's been asked to do one thing and a directive has come across saying to do something else. So,
and I acknowledge that.
And the law said another thing.
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
the law the law that constrains us. So there's a number of reasons why I think that we should fluoridate. One of them is that legally, if you look at a legal thing, I think that in fact we should. It says that we are to obey the directive of the chief executive, the health department. Sorry, but woozy. So that's one reason. The other reasons, I actually do believe that fluoride assists in the teeth. I actually have been directed by my dentist to put 20 times the level of fluoride on my teeth in order to stop them crumbling. Now because I'm old and I'm starting to get crumbly teeth. So he told me to do this 2 years ago when I was getting multiple caries. I was getting multiple crumbling of my teeth. And since then, he's managed to save all of my teeth, and I have not had one more hole or one more filling fall out. In other words, it has strengthened my teeth. So I realize there's a whole lot of data against this, but there's also data for fluoridation. So there's data both ways, and that you get that sometimes in science. And whether Councillor Benny, and I think he's done a terrific job with this research. He points out that lead was considered okay, and of course it's clearly not. And for some years, our Department of Health said it was, and it wasn't. And I mean, just a simple person can look at that and think, well, they're not gods; they don't know for sure. So there is a debate in it. My little spiel here includes a question. So if we have this next date in February where we have to reconsider this, are we progressing what we have to do up to that point so we're not in conflict with the department? I'll finish my spiel before you answer that question. One thing I do know is that, no, I'll finish my spiel and then I'll get you to answer the question. I do know, and I feel in my gut, and I'm usually quite right on this sort of thing, that the council will consider another area as partners for the better off, whatever it is, the regional deals, I mean, if I was government, I wouldn't. And I know that they are just as, how do I say, petty. They're just as biased towards working with people that want to work with them. And that's what I've heard quite a lot from central government people. We want to work with people that want to work with us. I mean, it's logical too. And this is potentially a game changer, in my opinion. Now, Councillor Holst says that's beside the point, that it's not really part of this issue. Well, it is the issue. It is the issue. We do want a highway. We do want all of this stuff done. We do want these projects to go ahead. And when we've got the central government on our side and believing that we're working together with them as partners, we're more likely to get that. So currently, I observe that this is going to be lost. I won't vote for Scott's amendment because I actually think it's the wrong thing to do. But I'm also heartened to hear that we've got another bite of this and we can spend hours and hours more on debating this issue. Thank you. And just draw you back to my question.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Peters, and I know this is a extreme for you to be online like this, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on there. Just to make sure I have your question here, you were asking about whether Councillor Mackenzie's motion was counteracting something. Was that? Sorry, I just try to clarify your question again.
No, my question was of Simon Weston. If we vote against this now, and we're going to vote on it again in February, will we have done the practical work that's necessary to continue within the prescribed timeframe?
Okay, so now I understand your question, and I've been informed by the team that all of the works will be completed before the implementation time. The concern that they had, well, all bar one, Pority, will be done by then. Pority is still under discussion, as you may well aware, and the act of actually adding fluoridation was the last step, and that is the step which was planned for the 28th or 25th, 28th of February to be in line for the 30th, so it's the 28th of March.
Well, I wish to commend Simon West and his team for maintaining their equilibrium under fire. Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Not a problem. Thank you, Councillor Peters. And just to make it very, very clear, Councillor Mackenzie's motion is not is allowing the fluoridation to actually still happen and take the injunction at the same time. So just to make sure everyone's well aware of that. Councillor Peters is still there, I think. Okay. We'll now move to, Councillor Olsen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, this is going to be my final hit. 4 million, roughly, it's what it would finally cost us. 14 councils at 4 million say that's $56 million that the government is spending to implement this. Imagine the good that could be put to with other alternatives, i.e. toothpaste, pills, whatever you want, and it would also free up people to make that democratic choice and the freedom of choice whether they want it or not.
Yeah, and your point is definitely made, and thank you, Councillor Olsen, for that. Councillor Reid?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm a little conflicted with point 11. Legally, I can see that being twisted and killing the 10 points above it. So, yeah, I don't really see the good in it, as much as I don't want to upset anybody's thought pattern, but I am very, very concerned that may overturn the 10 steps above, and we know Councillor Benny has put an awful lot of effort and homework, and he has spent considerable energy to get that 10 points right. So I'm sorry, I can't support the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Reid. Councillor Connor.
Thank you. I really just wanted to make a comment on comments regarding making it an option for people to do things. So, for example, saying provide toothpaste, provide the facilities to be able to do that, as comments have been made, and saying you should be able to do this, you should be able to do that. Comparison. We currently provide free recycling within our rates for people to freely put it's a comparison, to freely put their items in a recycling bin to put it out for us to collect for free. We ask that they wash their recycling, take the caps off, and put it in the correct recycling so that it can get taken. Unfortunately, people are still failing to do this, and it's a simple task. Sometimes, and this is where the comparison it's about that, is the costs is one thing to be able to put into that space. Changing a habit actually means somebody has to make that decision to change that habit to do that. Some people have time pressures that do not allow them to do that. Some people have choices that will go with a sugary beverage instead of something else, which may not work anyway. But it's one of those things that I'm just raising the comparison of providing something that people may not be able to deal with within their lives currently.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Benny.
Yeah, speaking really briefly to the amendment, I did not include item 11. On 28th of November, this council made a really important decision. We put a line in the sand, we stood by that, and all of a sudden, we got correspondence from the Director General of Health. All of a sudden, the Bill of Rights analysis, which had been over 12 months, was produced. I deliberately have left out point 11. I don't support the amendment. All this talk that we are contravening the directive is not the case. The directive is clear. We must fluoridate by 28th of March 2025. At that point in time, if we're not, then we worry about that then. But at this stage, we are not contravening any directive. Let's make that clear. We have three separate steps here. We can go to the Governor-General, we can seek an injunction, we can also ask for an extension. Recently, last week, Far North District Council were given an extension to March 2026. That is that's on the table. All these experts that say, well, we won't get an injunction, sorry, that is opinion only, and that is one of the three strings to our bow. I'm suggesting let's stick to my original motion. Let's go through this, and then we'll worry about that early next year. Let's go for an injunction, go for the Governor-General, and ask for an extension.
Thank you, Councillor Benny. Councillor Harding.
Thank you, Te Koromata. Can we just scroll down or
Like a bit more of it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Because I just wanted to check, just with the addition of number 11, as Councillor Benny has stated. So, because the end game here is, the likelihood of it is that we may need to fluoridate, is that right? So by adding in the point number 11 is kind of takes out all of those because they're working towards something that may end up being fluoridate. Is that correct?
If you take the motion that is there at present moment, that's the whole motion, including 11, which is the amendment. It states that there's a whole lot of things which is noted.
Yeah.
And it's instructing to go to the letters, to do the injunction. The question that you're asking is more relating to what the government may do to that, and unfortunately that's something I cannot answer, and neither can any of the team answer.
Well, just in terms of 1 to 10,
Yep.
is that the end game, the possibility that we'll do as much as we can now to challenge the Director General of Health, but the end game might be that we would have to fluoridate by the March date.
And that's what Councillor Benny has used in his argument several times through, yes.
Because I just needed to see from number 1 down to 7 to make sure that, so each one of those doesn't, it just kind of takes a position against it, but it doesn't say that we will not, which is what number 11 does. Is that correct?
Yes, and unfortunately in point 4, if you see number 3 there, it actually states the resolution of 2028. So it refers to the letter that came from the Director General in relation to the motion of 2028. So the motion of 2028 still stands without Councillor Mackenzie's amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Understand? Yep.
If I can just make a really quick comment. So thanks very much, and I really appreciate all of the debate that's been carried forward this morning. I've had my own deep conversations within my whānau, my wider family, also within comments from other hapu members, and I've done my own personal research around, I guess, other Māori dentistry entities throughout the, just mainly the Northern Auckland area. And, you know, I stand strongly around equitable outcomes for Māori. I'm an elected member for the Māori ward. I know I took the oath for everybody in the whole district. Engari, the Māori ward is across the whole district. And there are a lot of, you know, kind of positive statistics around raising those equitable outcomes and to fluoridate the water is one of them. So yeah, it's a really confusing and it's a difficult position to be in. However, you know, and that's as an elected member, you know, as a hapu member in a leadership role, boy, are we up for taking the crown and, you know, and injuncting them on a whole heap of issues. And so herewith is my personal kind of, wanga, we call it, kind of confusing space to be in. Because one, even though we've received a lot of emails and kōrero from other residents and ratepayers, there is a whole lot more of voices and concerns from those that wish to fluoridate the water. Ka pai? So I think it's important that everybody gets an understanding of where I am, what I've heard, what I've listened to, what I've observed, and you know, we're here about future-proofing for the next generation, right? So it's crucial, absolutely crucial, you know. And tautoko, Councillor Rooker's words around it, and he's a younger person. I'm getting into that older age group, and so it's absolutely of you know, note around what our actions and decisions are today and how they will impact those that are coming ahead. So my whānui and technical experts that I've been liaising with are about, let's make it easier for our tamariki, our babies in the future. Should they have that opportunity, perhaps, to have that opinion for themselves? Most likely. When I look at Councillor Benny's, what he's put forward, and if it's to provide the challenge to the Director General as a stepping to, and if someone can respond around whether we might get, whether we'll get, you know, kind of stung by it financially as elected members, but I'm sure I heard him say earlier in a speech that we wouldn't, then it's kind of the pathway too, isn't it? It's not a given, but it's also not fluoridating. So probably in a similar position where I was last time, but I think I absolutely respect the views of our fellow elected members and where they are, and also about our role as elected members to be lawful, and that is probably the biggest one. I'm always kind of on the side of compliance, and so that kind of, you know, that kind of threat is there and is challenging. However, if the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor feel that in their leadership that they think, I mean, for the whole of Whangarei, that they think that they can stand this up, then we'll put it on their shoulders. No, kidding. Yeah, no, but it is important because it's the leadership of this district that we're looking at, and to also acknowledge our Chief Executive and their staff for everything that they've had to do to rally around, try and make a document that is fair and transparent and doesn't sway us in terms of the kind of decisions that we need to make. So where will I land? I'm not sure. We'll see how we go when we vote on it. Mihi ana kia koutou.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Councillor Mackenzie, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. I have two. The first question is, I I was contacted by the New Zealand Dental Association, who said that they wanted to speak at the public forum today, but were declined because they were not allowed to attend via Teams. Could the staff please confirm if that was the case?
Councillor, just for your information, that they were not declined. They said they were welcome to turn up. They had to be turning up in person. That was not declined.
My understanding is that they were declined to join via Teams. The second question is, on the 23rd of May of this year, Mayor Moko Tapania presented to this council via Teams in the public forum in advance of the LGNZ vote. So there's a clear precedent for parties to appear in front of council via Teams in the public forum setting. Can the staff please confirm that's the case?
Councillor, once again, that's a question and going to me and to my direction. And as was made known at Councillor Mokotapania's, the Mayor Mokotapania's speech, that was an exemption made at that particular time specifically because he had council meetings on and he couldn't attend at that present moment. This is a complete different moment, and this is a complete different time because of the fact that we asked them that they can turn up. They just need to turn up in person.
Yeah.
Also,
They're based in Nelson, Your Worship.
Also in Mokotapania's situation, we had internet connection problems as well, and it was deemed at that point that we needed to actually have them in person to make actually better communication.
Yeah, okay. I would have thought as an IT professional you would be all over that, Your Worship.
Councillor Mackenzie, while I appreciate your comment at the last minute there, I have no control over internet connections. I fix computers. Councillors, I will just have a word to say here because it's basically I have been waiting patiently to listening to everyone's conversations, even with the digs by certain councillors about the way things are being done. We have a situation in front of us here where we have a motion on the floor which was to get our Director General of Health to come to a meeting to actually talk to us. The Director General of Health refused to do that and they sent a letter of demand. Once again, councillors, I say, why has any government given so much power to one person? That really concerns me. Now, it is law, as has been pointed out many times. Under the Health Act, it quite clearly states the Director General of Health has the authority. The Director General of Health has the authority. One person. So while Councillor Benny's motion is to question and to bring about making freedom of choice, which I believe in wholeheartedly and have always believed in, the freedom of choice to be able to allow people to have a say in how they want to take and what they want to take in their life, I find it hard because, like Councillor Roka, I see people in our community who claim to be health professionals and smoke, claim to be dental people and drink Coke and Fanta and Sprite with loads of sugar. I find there's a lot of contradictions within our lives that we have. So for a council to make a stand about public health is a really strange aspect because we are required under the Local Government Act and under the Water Services Act to actually make sure the water that we provide is the best quality. We're required to. We're also required to take the view of our people and bring our view of our people along. We have been put in a very difficult situation here. And that was not by Councillor Benny that we put in this difficult situation. And it was not by other people we've been put in this situation. We've been put in this difficult situation by the present government because they are still abiding by the Health Act of 1956, which was actually originally stipulated and approved in 2001 and then came into law in 2024. So we are in a very difficult situation. In one way, we want to have the public to have a say. In one way, we want to represent our people. In another way, we are in the situation where our council must abide by a directive from one person. So, councillors, it is a very difficult situation because we are turning around and leaving control over to the Director General of Health. Now, the interesting thing is, the Director General of Health is then not responsible and not legally liable for any actions that they achieve. So that does concern me as well. How can you put one person in total power and then turn around and say, oh, you're not liable? Actually, the councils are going to be liable. This is a major contradiction that we're in. And councillors, it is not an easy decision to be making. You know, I have talked to dentists. Even this morning, I was talking to my dentist. Because I luckily had, as I usually do, a 6-monthly appointment with my dentist, and just so happened to be this morning. My dentist also understood the situation that we were in. They also understood that the benefits of fluoride toothpaste and the act of actually brushing teeth, the act of flossing, the act of actually eating correct foods, and the act of actually not drinking fizzy drinks and sugary drinks. My dentist understood that perfectly. And when my dentist turned around and said to me, you know, we've got Māori dentists, trained them up, sent them up north, and no one listened to them either. So while it's not a racial aspect, it is about our community having the choice to actually choose. And if they choose to drink Fanta and Coke and everything else, that's their choice. However, why is it our choice to now allow one person to dictate to us? Members of the public, again, please, apologies for this, you have to sign language. Councillors, my comment has been had. Councillor Connop, you are asking a question, are you?
Yes, please.
Yep.
In relation to your comments about, and other people's comments about one person making the decision, I'm now thinking to civil defence emergencies where I believe you are the one person who has the ability to make that decision to declare a state of emergency, which over the Christmas period I've been put into the position of. I will be not, and I believe you will not be, making those decisions, should there be an emergency, on our own accord.
Point of order.
Just get to your question, Councillor. Okay, what's your point of order, Councillor Olsen?
This has got nothing to do with this decision.
I think the councillor is trying to make a similarity here, but I need to get to the question, councillor.
Yes, my question is, are these comments that everybody's saying about this one person making the decision relevant, considering the fact that we are in the position of waiting one person to be able to put in the ability to do a state of emergency, but that is only through direction given by the staff and everybody else?
Your point is a question. Councillor, you are correct. There is, as Ben has dictated, there will be one person who will be doing that. That is correct, and that is within guidance of the staff. In this particular station, as your comparison, it's not really the same comparison. This is actually affecting the health of the whole nation, and in our case, because we're talking about Whangarei. So we're talking about water, adding to water and adding to people's drinking water, as versus doing a civil defence emergency, which is actually saving lives. So two different things. One is acknowledged as quite clearly it is about tooth decay and health, whereas the other one is a relation about saving lives.
Which is health. Last question.
Yep.
And this is just in relation to the points we have up here. Are some of the points being able to get, once it goes through to the substantive motion, can some of the points be taken separately or not?
It will be taken as a whole motion once if the amendment gets moved and it gets accepted, we'll take the whole motion as one. Because we have already debated on the individual points, so it's to take the whole thing. Councillor Jovic.
Thank you. all the one power. It's interesting your comment when that's given to you, and 2 hours ago that could have been decided upon. This amendment won't be going through because other councillors that voted previously against going with the Director of Health has indicated their situation to go against this motion. And those who went for it to go with the Director of Health will not go against this. So this whole debate, I hope you have comfortable seats, because this amendment will be put, it will be lost, and then we're going to go around this again. And if we had if we had leadership a while back, we would have circumvented all of this discussion and actually got back to Councillor Benny's original motion in the first place. No further comment.
Point taken. Anyway, Councillor Yover just had his comment. Councillor Benny, do you want your right of reply at this point?
This amendment, excuse me, point of order.
Yes, but at this present moment, Councillor Benny can take his right of reply at this point if he chooses to take his right of reply.
Ben?
No? You can take your right of reply now, or you can wait till after this amendment has been
Point
put.
of order, Your Worship. Could we have that clarified by the...
Councillor Cooper, it has been done many, many times. We've allowed the person who has the right of reply. However, the staff will look at the exact motion there, the actual standing order point. .12, if you really want to know. 21.12, yeah. That's the last paragraph. Yep. As stated in 21.12, would you like me to read that out to you as standing orders, Councillor Cooper?
No, we don't want to prolong things, Your Worship.
So I will read that out for your benefit so that you can actually understand your standing orders that you took an oath to. The standing orders are, in that part, the original mover may speak once to the principal motion and once to each amendment without losing the right of reply. If a closing motion is carried, the mover of the motion may use their right of reply before the motion or amendment to be put to the vote. The mover of the original motion may choose to indicate that they wish to reserve their right to reply until the closing motion. Councillor, that's answered your question.
Yes, please.
Do you have any more questions to that?
Please allow me to apologise to Councillor Benny, Your Worship.
Councillor Benny,
I'll take my right of reply and hopefully we'll get this. I'll be nice and short. Firstly, Councillor Reid, if we go to jail together, I will be asking for separate rooms. Secondly, this debate, we are debating here whether to put poison in 100% of our water supply so that 3% could possibly affect a small amount of our population. Now, here's the kicker for this. Our town supply reaches just over 60% of our population. What about the other 40%? And here's another point. Those people are probably the ones who are most at risk here. So there are alternatives to fluoridation of our water.
Point of order.
Your point of order, Councillor McKenzie?
In the meeting on the 28th of November, it was noted by staff that 80 to 85% of residents in Whangarei would be affected by the fluoridated water, not 60.
I'm going off the Ministry of Health's actual figures in this paper. 57,000 plus 7,000 equals 64,000. This is from the Ministry of Health. This is their figures that you are relying on. So that's the point.
So just to rule this, Councillor McKenzie, while your point is made by the staff previously, the councillor is referring directly to the minutes which is in hand and which he's reading off.
And I don't believe it was 85%, but still, let's go. It will not reach 100% of our population. In fact, there is a substantial amount of our population that will not receive any perceived benefits to this. What are the alternatives? The Child Smile program in Scotland is the shining light of how to achieve oral health. That reaches 100% of our population. It is cheaper and it does not mean that we have to compulsory mass medication of our water supply. Who is going to look after the pregnant woman, the infants, the babies? We must. This is a line in the sand here, people. We have put our line in the sand on the 28th of November. I urge you to vote against the amendment and vote for my original motion. The costs have been brought up. We have been told that we will pay up to $100,000. Other councils, the estimated costs are $165,000 plus. The costs do not come into this. We could save money by not fluoridating. There's a fact. So this is not North Korea. We are not in a dictatorship. We are being forced to mass medicate. I'm asking again, Dr. Safati, work with us. Let's come up with some program as a pilot for this region. We will work with you. I'll give you that word, and let's achieve the desired result without mass medication.
Right of reply has been had. Members of the public, again, please. Members, the right of reply has been had, so we'll now move the amendment.
Division.
Division has been called by Councillor Mackenzie. All those in favour of the amendment, which is just to item 11, revokes one of the resolution dated 28th of November 2024 and states resolves to not add fluoride to the Whangarei District water supplies as required by the directive from the Ministry of Health, MOH. Directive. Okay. All those in favour, please raise your right hand.
Councillor Ruka, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Peters.
Those against?
Councillor Jovich, Councillor Reid, Councillor Olsen, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Golightly, His Worship Mayor, and Councillor Connor.
Yep. Those abstaining?
And Benny.
Yep. Those abstaining? Councillors abstaining. Apologies, team. Maybe we got quite fast to you there. I thought they'd called out everyone's name. That's lost. Okay, so we'll now move back to the substantial motion as the right of reply has been had. All those in favour? Division has been called by Councillor Holmes. All those in favour, please raise your right hand.
Councillor Jovich.
Without 11.
So Councillor Ruka, Councillor Reid, Councillor Olsen, Councillor Hulse, Councillor Golightly, Councillor Benny, His Worship Mayor.
Those against?
Councillor Jovich, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Harding, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Connor.
I'm confused as to what we're voting on.
Councillor Peters, I'm letting you know that this is in relation to the whole motion without item 11 because that was lost. So it's the original motion of Councillor Benny. Are you for or against it? Against.
Against, yeah.
In the process of getting, and as has been pointed out to me, casting vote will have to be required, and for us to make a resolution, we're going to approve that. So it's been carried. Right, next item, item 4.2.
Your Worship, if I may, I'm absolutely horrified that Councillor Benny doesn't want to share a room with me.
Anyway, keep moving, councillors. Look, next one should take fairly quick. We will allow the public to move, though. It's not a problem. So, okay, we'll take 5 minutes to allow that to happen. Thank you.
question.
Yes.
Councillors, we have lost one councillor, which is Councillor Golightly. Where are the other councillors? 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, we have a quorum. We're now moving on to item 4.2, which is on page 175. Councillor Reid, you're moving this. Can you speak to it, please, or read it out? No, can you read it out, because we're live streaming, Councillor?
Of course, Your Worship. I shall just find the appropriate page.
175.
2, recommendations that Council 1 notes the forthcoming completion of lease discussions with a lease for the proposed new facility / standalone agreement being almost ready for consideration under delegation to the Chief Executive. Notes that any lease for the Blue Hangar will be considered under delegation to the Chief Executive alongside the lease for the new facility and standalone agreement.
Do we have a second for that? Councillor Connop, you're seconding that. Councillor Reid, would you like to speak to it?
Just a very common sense noting of process, Your Worship. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor Connop?
Yeah, just a couple of comments that from the committee, that was the Noise Committee, Airport Committee, I've forgotten the terminology right now, it's been a long day, that we are working with the community to do this as best as possible to get the details finalised, and from the discussions with the committee, it's great to see that we're coming to a way where we can discuss this and get things sorted out quite nicely. There are disagreements, obviously, but it's just it's good to see them working with us in a process to actually get them as sorted out as possible.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other discussion? No other discussion, no other questions. Right of reply, Councillor Reid?
Thank you all.
Okay. Right of reply has been had. All those in favour? Any opposed? And Councillor Peters, I'm taking that's in favour? Yep. It's been carried. Thank you, councillors. Before everyone leaves and runs away, I just need to make sure the team are all up to date with everything and there is no thing we have missed. Excellent. Just making sure of that. Councillors, again, what I say, and to the members of the public who are still here, look, we have gone through an extensive debate today, and one of the things I wanted to make sure of, and we will walk out of this room, that we understand that decisions that are made here are decisions. We need to move on from those decisions and act from those decisions appropriately. I understand that people have personal views, personal ideals, and I understand that some people may feel as though that they've been picked on. This is not the case in this room. This is the debating chamber, and the purpose of the debating chamber is to get all the issues out and to air them so that they can be clearly described, and with no malice to any one person. On saying that, I have to take my hat off to the team, the staff, for actually doing what they've done and preparing the agendas as we have for the whole year. It has been a horrendous year, and with more legislation changing, as of Monday, we had the water reform bill have its final reading. Final reading? First reading. First reading. The last part of the water reform have its first reading. And there has also been other reforms, other legislation which has also gone through this week as well. So there has been quite a bit of legislation going through, and I know that central government are still doing changes right up through next year as well. Councillors, as we've gone, what I'm going to say is Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. At the same time, I'm going to ask if you could just bow your heads as we have a word of prayer just in guidance for going home. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for today. Thank you, Lord, for the discussion that we've had. And Lord, please look after each member as they go home to their different locations, as they go to their work. Lord, look after their family and friends, as Christmas time is a family time, Lord. And we need to make sure that you are with all the families represented here and all the families in our community. Because, Lord, we need your guidance and strength and mercy as we go through the Christmas and New Year's Day and come bright and fresh back again here in the new year. In your precious loving name, amen. Go well, Councillor Peters.
Thank you. Amen to that. Look forward to seeing you.
Merry Christmas, Carol. I hope you're feeling better.